Now it's time to play. So no longer can you be led astray. Some of you are going to be in dismay at the way that things play, okay? Is what they're saying to me right now. And more along the lines, that's more about disbelief, okay? And taking heed to what it is that you need. So we are going to peek through a lot of different diversities as a lot of people come in the room. So bear with me as there's interjections here upon different directions of where people are at and what ensues. Some of you are in a place of where you're on the other end of things. So they're showing me a timeline and it's just a line to give me reference to. Some of you are on the other side of this and some of you are waiting for something to come through. Others of you, you're in the beginning of this shift, and then others of you were in the middle. So this is where I have to kind of come from one space and breed it through. So there are a lot of you that's stepping into a lot more of a dynamic of a spiritual experience. So there's a lot of you that are going through what we call the healing measures, and at the same time, the spiritual essence of your spiritual gifts, thank you, are coming through. And so this is the diversity and the versatility of you realizing that you are way more than what you are healing through. There's others of you that are in the middle right now of coming out of the healing space, and this ability space is just wide open to you. And so there's more embracing. And what I have seen more through the collective, there's more hearts racing. This is more passion. This is more drive. This is more purposeful. Something's being lit inside is what they're telling me. Now, others of you are on the end, like this end of this shift, but it's not an ending. It's a beginning is what they're telling me. So as things are peeling away, outside of you now, because you've peeled those things inside of you away, okay, allow those objections or objects, okay, thank you, Spirit, to come through. So some of you are in a what we call waiting period, but it's not really a waiting period because you're still taking action in reference there, okay? There's a lot more acceptance coming through is what they're telling me, but you're being a lot more acceptance of your behavior of, and I'm not talking about like where you're letting BS slide, because you can no longer do that. It's not where you reside, okay? But you're being more accepting, going, oh crap, okay, I did it again. Now we're going to step back and we're going to take full momentum again. Excuse me. So there's going to be places of you and people and shifts inside of you. Now, there is Mars that is squaring Chiron specifically today. So I just want you to know that if there are things that are coming up, they're to be moved out of the way. Okay. And these are the games that you play. It's all about the experience, and it's all about the experience in which you shift into. And so the vibration, and they're saying the verbance, so the reverberation is what they're telling me. I said vibration, they're saying reverberation. So the vibration and reverberation are coming back through. So this is a lot of freedom. You're freeing yourself of greed. You're freeing yourself of guilt. You're freeing yourself of shame. You're freeing yourself of victim mentality. You're freeing yourself of where you thought you should remain. You're freeing yourself of the old spiritual identity that can no longer remain. You're all coming back home to God, the divinity, in one way, in one retrospect to you. And many of you are on different pathways in order to come back to where two become one, the one become the sum. So when your higher self and you merge through, which means you know that the higher self is what is speaking to you, this is the essence here of that energy coming through is what they're showing me. So it's the higher self and the human self that are becoming two to become the one. And this is where the emergence comes from. So there's a lot of sacred divinity. There's a lot of God or Holy Spirit or holy sanctuaries within that self that are being, worked through. So it's like the kingdom within you, right? The kingdom of what that is to you, what that means to you, how your spiritual identity ensues, how your connections ensue, what it was that disdains you about the word God, source, the divine coming through, and where those things and where those attributes are needing to be let go of so this connection can truly come through for you to spring into action is what they're telling me. So no longer can there be rejection about what the God is in you, or what the divine source energy is outside of you, and you're having to regurgitate resentment towards God and Jesus and what that was placed upon you in those early ages that come through, and what it is for you to be gaining sovereignty within your foundations of the freedom of your structures. And this has to do with a lot of the boundaries that ensue that were placed upon you, that you are removing on multiple different layers and multiple different structures and multiple different dimensions here too. So a lot of you are shifting through parallels, and they're saying a lot of you are getting parables. So there's a lot of intuitive messages that are coming through, and they're coming through in parables too. And so this is the essence of the watchers, right? The original watchers, the messengers, Gabriel, those types of energies that are coming through, that are connecting you back to the truest of source of God essence inside of you. So this is where just you are figuring out where that is in alignment for you. And this is part of the wound that is being removed, that's seeping through the collective, that's being asked to be healed now, which is giving you more direction into the spiritual divinity of the path that you choose finally chooses you, because you finally have chosen to step through that judgment card. And they're saying the earth and the divine has spoken. So you've already heard this inside of you. You've already felt this shift inside of you. And so yet they know not what they do, right? Because they are in a place of doing, not in a place of being, to be able to feel the pull that's coming through. And so you're in a place of, I got to do this, I got to do, instead of sitting in revelance, reveal, okay, thank you. Instead of sitting in reverence about what it is that the divine is pulling you to do. Whatever this is, it will be supported, it will be true, because you're stepping into the most sacred divinity of you. So source is calling to action here upon many vessels, right? And so there's that self-doubt, or that stagnation that has to be removed. And so this Mars in Chiron is moving you through that right now as you prevail through. So a lot of you are figuring out your place about what it is to do, where it is to be, the destiny, and what it is that's opening up to you for you to receive. And the opportunities are there in front of you because you can see them now, because of the wounds and because of the emotional identities and because of the way that the devil energy ensues upon you within your mind and how it works and how those energies work around you. You've mastered those energies to be able to not allow them to affect you. And so it's almost as if like this shift is happening where you're shutting off that light switch. Anything that is negative, that does not, that you know that is just not upon you to feed. It's like, regardless of what your head is telling you or what your heart is telling you, you're in a state of belief, you're in a state of faith, okay? And so this is where you're being asked to move this calling, this higher action. Some of you were in retraction. So what they showed me were some of you like this. And when your arms are crossed like this, you're defensive in nature. And that's telling me that some of you are just healing through these wounds of coming into acceptance and terms with yourself about what it is that you are, what it is that God is, and what that energy is to you, and how that emotional identity connect between the two is what you're removing, because that's a self-perpetuated ego identity that you're removing right now, is what they're saying. And I'm supposed to tell you, for those that are in that energy, happy embolic, happy spring. It's February 1st. Let freedom ring is what was just said. So I want you to know that this is the first day of spring, and it celebrates spring, and it celebrates the embolic, and it celebrates the new. So a lot of the new energy with the new moon is coming through. So, you know, give reverence and give thanks to those blessings that are coming before you is what is being said. A lot of you are realizing how these opportunities actually come through for you, and where you have not taken the opportunity in the past to follow through. So a lot of you are, thank you, being called to more accountability, which is calling for more action in you to actually not stop yourself from doing X, Y, and Z that is placed upon you. So a lot of the self-deceit of where you thought the creator or your team was asking you to be was perpetuated by a false identity of what you thought you needed to be, when in reality the divine was always trying to pull you. And they're taking me back to the messages that came through weeks ago, where you were never misled, only misread. So you deceived yourself rather than breaking through those layers, because it's what you thought you had to do, and that's the limits that you were placing upon you. And now there's more versatility of how you feel, what you see. This is all also coinciding with your spiritual abilities. So the way that you see things, how you feel about things is changing, which is altering the way that you see the world around you, and what you have the adaptability to pull through to you as well, is what they're saying to me. Now this is funny because it's just one of my guides coming through, and so I just always say what is said, and they're telling me to tell you that some of you smell really good. So what this means, they're just funny sometimes, man. But what they're breaking that metaphor down is your energy, right? Your energy no longer stinks. Your energy, the essence that you carry, right? Because of the, like, this is where the self-sabotage, the self-servient ways that you were carrying that perpetuated this self-identity. And all I keep in my right ear, okay, I've got messages coming left and right, and in my right ear, all I keep hearing is "let freedom ring," and like these bells that are ringing, okay? And then on the other side of me, I want you to know that that's where the other energy is coming through about the smell and the layer. And then we've got the divine coming through in the crown. So just bear with me as we're all over here in the shift of the awareness, as they pull things through in different layers, and they speak and say what they need to as well. But you're realizing the thank you, Spirit, the multi-dimensional being that you are, and that you choose the experience that you have every day. And they're saying it's the video game shifts. So it's like when you go to bed at night, you lay the remote control down, you power the video game off, and you wake up. And when you wake up, you power the video game on, and you're playing the video game. And it's all about your experience and how you choose to see the experience, and how you choose to allow the experience to engulf you, which is the reverberation of the energy, okay, that you're putting out. So just remember that energy is nesting, all right? And that becomes part of the blessing, is the belief before you see. We're walking by faith, not by sight. You're changing things in a different way. Instead of asking the divine, please, 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 you're actually taking reprieve, and you're doing things in a different way. Or you're allowing the universe to just show you. You're not even chasing anything. You're just allowing whatever to show up in your lap. Or you're in the state of full-on belief, where you understand the universal energies, and you're working through that space right now. So they're giving me 3 different places and spaces that people may be at. All right. Can we tone it down a little bit? All right, thank you. So now I also want you to know that the angelic frequency and the angels of Gabriel and Uriel and Michael and Raph are coming through heavily. And so there's this energy that's coming over me where they're surrounding and engulfing the collective right now. So I just want you to know that they are very present. They're very heavy over the collective. And they show me from the canyons of the directions here that they are engulfing the collective here, okay? So you all have been feeling these shifts of energy within you, but there's a bigger shift that will ensue. And the bigger shift is where this concurs, because timelines merge, right? Is what they're giving to me. Now, this is not perpetuating anything except for showing you that the energy that you bring to the table is what okay, thank you, is what transmutes through the vibration of the collective. So a lot of you have put down a lot of the conspiracy or a lot of the fear unless it's actually proven itself to be real, and you're not jumping on certain bandwagons anymore, which means you're not giving your energy to those timelines or those collectives that don't resonate, that aren't real to you. So now you have a more clearer perspective and a more clear directive is what's being said. You're seeing how the divine is just working through you, working for you. There's a lot more gratitude. There's a lot more, okay, the word obedience. And it's really heavy because it's about the discernment within yourself. So it's like you had to get rid of what you thought certain voices were, and you had to cut connections off, but you also had to get rid of the deceit within your own voices, you know, in your head, because those are different. Those were just different layers or different pieces. Okay. So now they're showing me the connection is just between you and the divine. And this is where you had to get to this space to become in alignment for what chooses you. And this is something that you choose to do as well. So there's a lot of excitement. They're showing me the excitement card. They're showing me the Tower card as well. And it's just the realizations, okay, that you're going through, and then these things that you're about to do. Now, there's a lot of soul and there's a lot of heart chakra activations that are going on through the collective right now. And there's a lot of crowns. So if a lot of you are going through what we call upgrades, okay, listen to sound, vibration, and frequency. If you need a sound guy, Celestial Weaver, great freaking sound guy, all right, and healer as well. So harmonics, energy healing, that's where it's at right now to reprogram the cells. If you're overbalanced, underbalanced, you know, you can come and work through that space with me, or get sound healing through that energy, because there's a lot of activations in the crown right now. So there's a lot of blurred vision, eyes going in and out. There's a lot of headaches that are going on because your crown is being activated, for heaven's sakes, is what they said. And so a lot of you sometimes are like, well, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You know, and there's nothing wrong with you. Just allow the energy to transition through. This is where you're listening to literally the solar plexus, that connection that's been bred within you. This is about the intuitive spiritual identity that moves through you. Okay, your uniqueness and how you pull that through. All right, and this is just the way that you're realizing that the Creator works with you, works through you, okay, as well. So you may have been seeing more or feeling more called to be lifted up. And what I mean by lifted up is I'm talking about spiritually. This is where you're being spiritually called to a higher state of understanding. So if you're looking into more knowledge, if you're looking into learning more, digressing more information, it's because your awareness now that is been peeled away, that's on this new layer, is being calling to you to level up. So some of you feel like you need to meditate more. Some of you may feel like you need to get more rest. Some of you may be daydreaming more, which is a form of hypnosis. It's a surface level form of hypnosis. They said vision quest. So some of you may need to go on a shamanic vision quest. Okay, you know what some of you may need to stare into a candle. Thank you. And so you know what you need best for your soul here too, is what they're giving me. And allow that energy to pull through you. And so don't allow the confusion of the planets and the alignments, or you feeling like you're off course just because of the energy outside of you that may be going on through the planetary shifts today. Be mindful of you. And if all of a sudden you've had direction and guidance, and then all of a sudden you feel like you don't have direction and guidance, that is something outside of you, because nothing's changed in your realm. It's the energy outside of you trying to come off of that stable foundation of that emotional balance that you've built within yourself. Because you've built that emotional foundation that is stable, and that's mastering the empathy card that came out, which is mastering that divinity within your own soul. So there's been a lot of soul alignment or upgrades, okay, as you can say, that have gone through this too, through the peak of the resistance that you bred inside of you. Just because you didn't want to be this way, or you didn't think that you wanted to be this way, or you thought this way, or you didn't want to be thought of that way, whatever that is, that's what they're showing me is being left behind, okay? The spirit of comparison is high, so just know that the spirit of comparison is high. So there may be people that are competing with you, or that may be putting you in competition, and you might be able to feel that kind of like tension energy, okay? It's just let them prevail, let them do what they do. You know, you are in that understanding. You don't need to do anything or even bring attention to that. You might just feel that energy of what they're giving me here is that other people may be like putting themselves in competition with you, and it's like, just go heal that energy. That's part of the Mars in transition with Chiron. So if somebody's putting themselves in competition with you, you already know what that is. Just pray for them to heal, okay, through that. Okay, the jealousy is real right now. The envy is real right now, because you've been lifted in layers, okay? And you may feel that, which may come into you as questioning or self-doubt, is what Spirit is giving me right now. So if some of you feel that, that may be why, okay? You're feeling that energy is because there's envy, there is the spirit of jealousy, and this is part of what's being removed from other people in the collective. So you may be triggering other people's traumas, or so on and vice versa right now through this weekend, all right? There's a shift and a peak that they're giving me around Wednesday this week. So as you transgress through, there's going to be a shift or a peak in energy where this clarity or this knowing or this showing, this revelation. So there is going to be information that you receive anywhere between now and Wednesday is what they're giving me. More information. Some of this could be secrets revealed. Some of this could be agitation that was underneath the surface that you didn't know was going on, that's being revealed. Okay, obscure. So they're telling me that some people's assumptions or personifications may be obscured, and that's going to be shown to you too this week. All right, between now and Wednesday too. All right, so it's like those assumptions and the spirit of jealousy and greed are being removed, and you're on the other level of this is what they're showing me. And some of you may be going through this energy right now where you're shifting through that somehow. And so just know that that's what's being removed, because it's a piece that no longer serves you. And so it's not necessarily where you may feel jealous or you may feel envious, but all it's doing is giving you a goal that you need to work through. Why be envious? Why be jealous of something that you can do in your own uniqueness that God pulls through you? And so that's the message that's coming through. There is no art of comparison when you understand the divine eternity within you. And that's what's being removed, is this identity and this want to be energy that can no longer exist. So you're also going to be seeing a lot of readers and false prophets and so on and so forth no longer exist, because it's the spirit of greed or envy or jealousy, or I have to be this certain way. And there is a pastor, he's not even a pastor, man, he's a prophet, and he's a big old prophet, and he goes by Brandon Briggs, and I'm going to call it here. He keeps talking about this big old fucking virus that God keeps telling him about is coming back in 2025. And I'll tell you this right now, Doreen Virtue perpetuated this and actually sold this over 15 years ago, and so did Nostradamus. So if you're really smart and you understand what's going on, there's going to be a lot of prophets and a lot of people that are removed, because that energy that is no longer an absolute truth of what the sacred divinity is pulling through can no longer exist. So you're going to see a lot of people's dynamics shift, because a lot of people are going to be pulled away from certain levels of authority, and others are going to be held up and taking place, is what's being said. So this is where things have been misled. The creator, the divine, does not perpetuate fear. It's a false prophecy that man is making to shift timelines in reference to things so that things cannot fall through the way that the divinity brings. So a lot of you are coming into awareness of those shifts. Thank you. Of what it is. And so there's a lot of you that are being called to a higher action. And this is where you're seeing through multiple different layers of what's ensuing. This is where you're being called for higher action. So of course, all these things, they're telling me that you guys asked for a seat at the table. You prayed for whatever this is to be revealed to you. And you also prayed for you to be healed through this. And you also prayed for God to do X, Y, and Z with you or through you. So why are you now resisting what God is asking you to do during this shifting? So there's a resistance here that's going on because of the self-identity and the spiritual identity and the resistance of what this pull is. Because it's like you asked for this seat, you asked to do this, and now you're like tippy-toeing in to get your feet wet, but you're not diving all in. If the divine trusts you to do this, why aren't you trusting you to do this? And why aren't you trusting God to pull you through it? Is what's being said to me right now. And that's the questioning. You may not understand what it is that you're going to do, but that's not for you to understand. You'll understand the experience exactly when you need to understand the experience to have reference to you to understand then what you are here to do. So don't question what it is that you feel you're being pulled or called to do. And don't tippy-toe your feet in any longer. Take the risk, dive in. And this is part of the resistance that you're being pulled or moved through right now. They said the Holy Spirit is calling you. The divine source, God, the Creator, is in divine favor. And it's all part of your flavor. Remember when they just said a little while ago, where they like, Chief came in and was like, you smell different? Well, your essence is leveled up, and that's part of the layer there that they're giving me right now. All right. Thank you, guys. I'll go back through and read as many comments as I can. Thank you for being here, guys. I greatly appreciate you. Whew! That was beautiful. I love it when I get to come back for a minute. So we're going to jump in. We're going to soak. I'm just going to butter that in for a minute. Let me just sit in this reference because I just need to come back to for a minute. I'll have to go back and watch that later. The light, it's pretty bright. The light is pretty bright. So a lot of people like, this is something that's always been interesting to me. Thank you so much, Christy. A lot of people, when they go into the vision space or they go on a vision quest, they expect to see something. And me being the shaman that I am, it's all in nothingness. So it's the nothingness that provides the seeing. So for those of you that are trying to see something, I guess there's a reason they're asking me to talk about this, but for those of you that are trying to see something, quit trying to see. It's the state of nothingness that brings you everything. So it's the state of just being. A lot of people try to push through the seeing to see something. People don't realize that when they see something, they can have their eyes open wide and they're seeing. So the way that it's working for you, it's just like you're deepening this understanding, right? So you don't see that way. My eyes, my human eyes, see nothing but blackness when all that information and all those images come in. My human eyes see nothing but blackness. I used to try to see too. So I understand what you're doing, because you're like, wait a minute, I see colors and I see shapes and I see this and I see that, because your human mind is trying to put a reference to the spiritual experience. And then it can't do that. So the only way to bypass that is to get to the state of nothingness, understanding and seeing nothing. So when I work with a lot of people in mentoring and in the independent class space, and we work on meditation, we work on intuitive abilities, it's the state of nothingness, which is the quantum level that we're building you to, for you to actually see through. That's why a lot of people, when they start seeing, they'll work with candles and they'll scry. That's what I know it is. They'll scry with flame, because it's in the state of nothingness that they see everything. So when they pull me in, my human eyes see nothing. Everything is shown to me, just boom, in image. All right, the feeling, the sensation, all of that. My consciousness is not here. My consciousness is not in existence, but I'm physically aware of the sensations, what's being said, what's being felt, feeling the energy through. So for a lot of you that are learning to pull that seeing through, you're learning to bypass the state of human consciousness, because that's the art of limitation. When you're working with the spiritual veil and the spiritual essence of things, it's the human limitations that limits you from being able to reach those things. So we have to reprogram the mind from the human aspect of the brain to understand where and how to reframe. That's what we do. The art of nothingness is everything, because that's where everything exists, is in nothingness, right? The sacred, the divinity, the divine source, God, energy. It's everywhere and nowhere all at the same time, right? So it exists from nothingness, which is everything. You want to know something I learned that was pretty cool? I'm going to share this tidbit. They said sentimental. Huh. Alright. They said sentimental. No, I'm not getting sentimental. They're getting sentimental. Alright. Ew, feelings. Who does that? Anyway. Just kidding. Okay. So they're getting sentimental. So here's the difference. This is something I learned that they want me to drop this tea on you guys today. Alright. Alright. I gotta put it into verbalization context, so bear with me. Sometimes that takes me a minute to do, especially in English vibration. Okay. What's the difference? Is that how you want me to put it in context? What's the difference? Okay. Jay and I talked about this morning, and I talked about this with somebody else too this morning, which was pretty cool. So they're taking me back to it. What's the difference between science and God, the divine universe? Anybody know? Science cannot create water. Only God, the divine source, can create water. We have hydrogen and we have oxygen, but we don't have the two. Only the divine can create water, which is the two. So the difference between science and God, source, the divine, is that God, source, the divine, can create water, and science can't. That very essence, the very essence of water. So think about how sacred water is. This is one of the reasons why you are birthed in a womb of water. This is why a lot of you meditate best in water. This is why water grounds you. This is why spirit energy comes through water. But, you know, That's just something that I was supposed to ask to give you. All right. That was cool. So this is what we do. All right. I guess we're teaching a little bit today. All right. So there's a little bit of tidbit. I love all the different energies that love to come in. They're like, all right, we're just gonna drop this tea and then we're gonna be out of here. I'm like, okay, that's your job today. All right, that's your job today. Making sure everybody does their job today. Thank you guys for being here. That was a big message to pull through. That was a lot of information. There's just this, I don't know. There's just beauty, man. There's just so much beauty. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how to express it or explain it other than the fact is that it's like being in love with everything, right? That's the blissful energy. That's the peace. That's the reference. That's the harmonics. You were in a space of just being in love, and it's in love where the divine is. And so this is the higher state of calling. It's being in, I know this sounds kind of like crazy in a sense because it's like a blissful resonance, but you're not illogical. You're not in a state of psychosis. You're in a state of understanding the universal energies. Thank you. I love you too. So you're in a space of universal energies, of understanding what that divine divinity source of love is and what it is to be in love with self. See, everybody always put everything outside of themselves to fill themselves, right? With multiple different things, right? Television, anything outside of themselves that they could fill themselves with, rather than filling themselves with the essence of source, God, the divine, the creator of what it was. And you remembering what that essence is, what that essence was, why it was here, what it is that you're to do with that essence, and allow that divinity to work through you. So, but this is why you had to go through the root clearing, the fear, the weary, the generational things, right? And then you had to clear the sacral, all the stuff in reference to the womb and the energy of the sacral that you carry, and moving into the creative energy, right? And that type of energy that you use, and how you use that sacred, divine, creative energy to work through you. And then the solar plexus is the action of the soul and all of the information that it has and it holds, but all the emotions of the heart and the damage that's done covers all that up. And so you have to remember those parts of your heart, and your heart is the perfect place to start. And when you start with your heart, then other things start to open up. You know, one of the very big first questions I started asking myself at the age of 25 is, why do I always get myself in these situations? Why am I always in these weird revelations or these weird situations? Because there comes a point in time where you start to see the same energy playing out just by different people. So when you start asking yourself questions, you started seeking truth. And when you start to seek truth of what it is that is inside of you or outside of you or attracted to you or working with you, it's going to be shown to you. This is why so many of you are truth seekers. This is why so many of you are like, yeah, I'm going home. No one that is here, no one that's not that is here, it's an experience. It's not our planet. It's an experience for us to understand. It's us, what it is that we are, what we do, how far we come from, and the remembrance and the density of what this place has become has not allowed us to do as what we came here to do. So the level of experiences that you are ensuing, the light, this is why it's very interesting to me, because I wrote an entire blog on this planetary alignment, and I was like, oh, there's the awakening. There it is right there. Like, there's the biggest shift. This is the biggest shift for people to remember what they are. So there's a lot of new wave energy that's coming through. So there's a lot of people that, are in the middle of healing or just beginning to healing, but this spiritual essence is just pounding on them at the same time. And I remember 2 years ago, I prophesied that, and I said, man, I hate to be the people that are going to be in that third, fourth wave experience where they are starting to heal through that stuff, but then bam, their spiritual identity and their spiritual abilities are just smacking them in the face because they're wide open. And it's really hard, to be grounded right now in those spaces, right? So breath work, grounding, the multiple different ways of grounding, okay? It's not just going out and listening to nature, and it's not just, vibration, and it's not just putting hands in the dirt, because there's differences of things that, one might work, one might not work. So there's a lot of things that you have had to learn spiritually for yourself and discern. The biggest gift that you have, besides the divine's love that exists within you, within it, which is what it is divine love. So ask yourself, anything that is of divine love and divine eternity, why would it perpetuate fear? It's a false prophecy. Okay? And so you have had to shake through all of these things that you are going through, the misunderstandings, the virtues, the deceit, right, that was placed upon you, but you fell for it in the first place, right? So you had to take accountability, and then, because you had to fall first, right? So you had to take your own accountability to your own shit, and you had to deceive yourself first, only to realize that it was you that was deceiving yourself, and that's why everybody else was around you deceiving you at the same time, right? So the level of accountability right now within the collective is huge, right? It's absolutely huge. And this is making the movement move. And so when you understand what the energy, source, God, universe of that energy is that works through you, how it works through you, the planetary shifts, you understand what the collective is going through. So there's a lot of people that are healing through these last Chiron wounds. Anything that is traumatic in existence, whatever that is, it's going to be fully removed. So it's you no longer deceiving yourself. Outside energies no longer being able to deceive you. All right. So we're going to jump in.